Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to talk about how to use a Pullman loaf pan. I get this question so frequently, and I can't find enough YouTube videos on how to do it, so we're going to absolutely go over this. And it starts with the pan. So today I am using a USA pan. This is their 13 by 4 by 4 USA pan, and it has, of course, the Pullman lid that comes across, and it has little grooves, and you just slide her on there. And this is the pan itself. And these come in a couple of sizes, so this is what they consider the large size, and then there is a standard size that is like a 9 by 4. So this is more of the size you would get if you were purchasing a loaf of bread at the grocery store. This is going to be very much, in that size frame. So this is about what you may call a 2-pound loaf pan. And when you're making bread in something like this, you're going to want to use a recipe that calls for around maybe 6 cups of flour. The recipe we're going to use today is probably going to make a little more dough than what's going to fit in this, but I'll use it in a smaller loaf pan and bake that part off. If you have a 9 by 4 pan, then you would want to use a recipe that calls for maybe 3 to 3.5 cups of flour in order to get something that fits in the pan. We are going to start the recipe for our Pullman loaf pan with a loaf of mashed potato bread. And this recipe is so soft and beautiful and easy to make and easy to work with. So we're going to begin with 2 cups of warmed buttermilk at about between 110 and 120 degrees. And you know what I always say, if it's warm enough to bathe the baby in, then that's about where you want it to be. Okay. I have 2 packages of active dry yeast here. This is about 14 grams of yeast. You can use instant yeast, but if you're a new baker and you're unfamiliar with how all this is supposed to work, put the instant yeast inside the warm buttermilk and just leave it at that. If you can't get buttermilk where you live, you can buy instant buttermilk powder on Amazon. You can get a little bit of sour cream and water, a little bit of yogurt and water. Any of those things together would create an equal effect. If you're dairy free, there's not a really great equivalent that I could tell you to use that I really like. So you could use water, you're just not going to get quite the same results out of it. We're going to let this sit to the side and just kind of foam up a little bit, and I'll be back in just a second and show you what to do next. Now I've given the buttermilk a little bit of time to sit, and when you're doing this kind of thing, it's really hard to actually tell when the yeast is activating, so I just know that I've given it a few minutes to kind of sit there and think about what it needs to do, and I'm going to go ahead and use it. So what do we need to put in this bowl? We need to start with 2 beaten eggs. Now I have let these come to room temperature. It's best when you're doing, this kind of baking that everything is warm. So I'm going to crack these over here into a cup, because you never know. And I got a shell. You never know when you're going to get something in it, or you're going to have a bad egg, and you don't want that to be ruining your hard work. So 1 in and 2. And just give them a quick beat before you put them in. So those will go in. Then we're going to add some salt, and I'm going to use Redmond's real salt here, and it calls for, we're going to do 2.5 teaspoons, and I don't think Redmond's is all that salty, so I go a little closer to 2 3/4 or so. If you're using table salt, you're going to want to use less, because sea salt is less salty. 1.5 teaspoons to maybe 2 on table salt would be closer, but all salts are a little bit different, so they don't measure out exactly the same. Now we need a couple of tablespoons of sugar, just 2 tablespoons. I know I get in trouble a lot for everybody thinks it's shocking that I add sugar to bread, but welcome to America. That's where everybody does it. Now, just a couple of tablespoons here. And we get that mixed in. We're going to put in an entire stick of softened butter. This is a 1/2 cup of softened butter. I don't own unsalted butter, but technically this would be a place where it would be smart to use unsalted if you have it, just because we've already put salt in. You could have reduced your salt a little bit. I'm going to leave this just like this for a second. You could reduce the salt you put in and use salted butter, but I just don't think unsalted butter is worth having for anything. The next thing is 3/4 cup of mashed potatoes. Now I mashed these this morning. These are at room temperature. These are just one large potato, or a medium russet, and and I boiled it, and then I strained it, and then I mashed it up with just a little bit of butter to get it kind of smooth, but you don't have to use the butter or anything. We definitely don't want mashed potatoes that have been salted and have sour cream and all that kind of stuff in them. You just want it like this. Now, this is going to get easier when we put everything else in, but I'm just going to start mashing this with my fork just a little bit. If you go to read the recipe with all the measurements, which will be in the description box below this video, you will see that this recipe is made in a stand mixer. I just don't like a stand mixer. If I'm going to make bread, I really enjoy doing that by hand. But if you're doing this in a stand mixer, you're just going to give it a beat around until everything starts to incorporate. Now we're going to add our buttermilk and yeast mixture. Make sure you get it all out of the bowl and get it in there. And this is not really going to look too great just yet. This is really going to count on the flour to bring it together. So we're going to just mix all this in as best we can. That butter really does need to be softened. You don't need it melted, but you do need it pliable. So I'm working in a cold kitchen, or a very, very warm winter kitchen right now. It's cold outside, and this softened up really quickly for me. Now, for flour, we are going to be I'm using Costco's, technically it's their all-purpose flour, but it has the same protein count as a bread flour. So this is about 6.5 cups. And if you'll notice on the recipe instructions, we're looking for, I did this as 820 to about 850 grams of flour. This is 6.5, close to 7 cups of flour is what we're ending up with here, okay? When you're baking, you're always going to have a better result if you'll bake in grams. And I know that people feel frustrated about that sometimes, but measuring in cup measurements like we do here in the United States often ends up inaccurate, right? And the way that you measure your flour can be inaccurate, and the amount of moisture in your flour, depending on where you live, is going to affect the weight. But if you'll do it by grams, the weight will always be consistent, okay? And that means that the amount of flour you use will always be right, and your bread won't be too dry or too wet or any of those things. Now, I'm going to take my rings off for those of you who are always hollering about this, if I can get them off. And we're going to have to go in here with our hands, which are impeccably clean. You can also use, I like a bench scraper, a very flexible one for this as well, but we're just going to come in here, and I tuck my fingers in kind of like a scoop, and I just start working with this, okay? Once we get this to a shaggy kind of dough consistency, we're going to let it rest for 30 minutes, and then we're going to come back and do the kneading process. But right now, we're just trying to bring it together so that the flour can hydrate, and we're going to let it sit here, and there's a chunk of mashed potato. I'm going to take him out. If you find a little guy that's maybe not as smooth as he needs to be, you can just pull that out. But just bring it into a shaggy mixture here. This is just about right. There. I like that. Okay. Most of the dough is picked up off the bottom of the bowl. We've got it, in a good spot. So let's just let this sit for 30 minutes, and I'll be right back to show you how to knead it. So we've had about 30 minutes to sit here, and this dough has gotten very, very soft and flexible. And this is a great dough for beginners. If you've never really worked with any, this is a really easy one. So we're going to take it out. It's much softer. You need it to hydrate. You need it to become very flexible, okay? Now, the trick here, for everybody who's tried to make bread and it has come out dry and crumbly and really heavy, like you could use it as a doorstop, it's because of what's going to happen right here when we start kneading, okay? I have a little bit of flour, and by a little bit, I mean maybe like 3 tablespoons of flour. That's all you're allowed for this kneading process. I'm going to put a little bit down on the bottom and just a tiny bit on top. We really won't even need it because it's not sticking. But if you start adding gobs of flour during this process, you're going to make a brick, and you can't eat a brick. Okay, so it's really great. Now see, I'm finding little chunks of potato. You're still going to find a few as you go through here. Just potatoes naturally have a little hard spots, and just when you find them, take them out. You probably won't notice them if they were to bake up in the bread, but they can be, you'll find them as you're kneading, and it's not a big deal. But what we want to do here, so if you're going to do this in a stand mixer, you're going to knead this for about 8 minutes until it becomes just lovely and smooth and elastic, and we'll check for window pane. If you're doing this by hand like I am, this is about a 15-minute process, give or take, okay? So you're going to have to be very, very patient, and I'm not going to make you watch me knead this. I usually do allow you all to watch me do the entire process, and if you really want to see that, you let me know next time and I'll do it. But when it comes to kneading, pull it over, put your heels on it of your hand, push it away, turn it, pull it over, push it away. Okay. Now, what I'm not doing is mashing this all the way into the table. I'm not like smash and shove, because when you do that, you are going to make it sticky. Okay. This is a very light touch process. You don't have to manhandle it. Okay. And that's part of what makes dough really tough, is if you're fiddling with it but not doing anything really truly effective with your movements. So make sure that it's just, you commit to what you're doing, do it, but don't just sit here and like poke and prod on it. Just get her done. Okay. So I'm going to knead this until I reach window pane. And if you've watched any of my other bread videos, we've talked about window pane. But what you're looking for is the ability to pull this dough up, stretch it out, and have a little bit of light shine through. Now, do you see how this is breaking? It's because we're nowhere near where we need to be, okay? And I knew that when I started, but that's what you're looking for. So we're gonna knead this, and I'm gonna check it every 5 minutes until I'm able to stretch that dough a little bit and see a little bit of light through it, and it holds together, okay? And when I get to that point, I can show you. And then we're going to allow this dough to rest and rise for about an hour and a half. When you have a dough that has a lot of butter, and in this case, mashed potatoes and milk in there, the fats will cause it to take a little bit longer to rise. So you're going to need to plan for that rise time to, to take a little bit more than you would with a standard loaf of bread. So I'm going to knead this, and I'll be back in a second to show you what it looks like. All right, so I've been kneading about 8 to 10 minutes roughly. And if I pick this up, I can stretch. It's not perfect, but I can stretch this and get a little light through in a couple of spots. Like right there, I can get a little light through. I'm getting there. Another couple of minutes wouldn't hurt, but I'm feeling a little lazy, so we're probably going to stop right here. And if you'll notice, I didn't even use all that flour. I used some of it, maybe 3 tablespoons, maybe total. So be very careful how much flour you're using during the kneading process, okay? Now, we're going to put this back in our original bowl. Okay, and everybody's like, oh, put it in a clean oiled bowl. Why bother? Okay, back in your regular bowl, it's much smoother, it's much more elastic. I'm going to put a little bit of avocado oil on top, because this bread is going to sit for quite a while. It could form a skin. You don't want that to happen. I'm going to cover the bowl with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to let this sit for an hour and 30 minutes, and then I'll be back to show you how to fit it into your Pullman pan. Well, that took much longer than I anticipated. So even in a warm winter kitchen with a wood stove, an hour and a half turned into almost 4 hours to get the dough to the point that we're at right here. And even this isn't quite as high as I would like it, but I'm going to go ahead and move on with showing you how to fit it into your Pullman. So even touching this dough, it feels almost a little bit cold. So I'm surprised by that, but we're just going to get her in the pan, and we'll get that second rise on and get it where we need to get it. So you can see this is such an easy to work with, as I've said, an easy to work with dough. And I'm going to show you how to fit it to your pan. So here's my Pullman. I've got it back here. And as always, when you've watched me shape dough in the past, I want you to try to get it to the size of your pan as far as the width. So we're going to work it out there. And if I decide that this is too much dough, I may end up taking it out and taking some of it off. But we're going to kind of get it to the same length as your pan. The trick with a Pullman is that you don't want your dough to be tapered on the edges, because if it is, it won't rise evenly all the way across. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this up. This is a very typical technique for this kind of dough. And we're going to shape it into a log. We're going to try, boy, she's not pretty. Okay, but we're going to try to get this in there in some sort of cohesive way. I did not grease this because this USA pan is incredibly nonstick. It really doesn't need it. And that's going to be one ugly loaf of bread when it comes out of there, more than likely. It'll smooth out some when it rises, but we're going to let her go. So this is only about halfway up the side of this pan, and I have it in here in a pretty even layer. It's not tapering at the edges. It's okay. This is going to drive me nuts, no lie, but we'll go with it. I'm going to let this rise until it comes within, maybe I need an inch or so. I need this to come up an inch or so. I don't want it to rise obviously level with the pan. I don't want it to rise A lot of loaf pans, you're going to do it above, you know, an inch or so above the edge of the pan. We do not want that in this case. So I'm going to let this come up about an inch, and then I'm going to preheat my oven. We're going to put the lid on, and we're going to bake it. So I'm going to leave this here for however long it takes in the temperature of this kitchen. And once it has come up to the point where I want it, we will put it in the oven. So I gave this about another hour and a half to get to the height that I wanted it. And it has risen some, so I think it's going to be okay. And we're going to go ahead and put the Pullman lid on. So you go ahead and you put it in the oven with this on. Sometimes I have to get it from the right direction. Let's see. It'll just slide on, just like that. Okay. And we're going to go into the oven at 375 until the internal temperature on this reaches 200 to 205 degrees. Typically for a standard loaf in a 9x5 pan, that takes about 45 minutes, and this is much larger. So I did end up putting the entire if you were doing 2 standard loaves, that's how much dough there was for that. So I'm doing this in one large one. It may take significantly longer. All I'll do is check its temperature as I go along until I get it up to 205, and I'll show it to you when we get it finished. All right, so it's out of the oven. This was in for an hour and 5 minutes to get to 203 degrees. If your oven runs very hot, you may need to turn the temperature down to 350 and cook it an hour and 15. You're just going to have to check it and see. Every oven's going to be a little bit different. But it came right out of that USA pan, and we're just going to cut it right down the middle and see how it looks. So it's still a little bit warm. That's going to affect the texture, but let's cut it open and see how it is. There we go. So we have a really classic, it's a very firm loaf, which I think is fine in this case, especially if you're going to slice it up and make sandwiches out of it. It's a nice firm loaf, and it almost has a little bit of a tangy, sourdoughy kind of smell about it without it being actual sourdough. So, and people always ask me, they're like, cut another slice so we can see. So let's cut another slice, and you can just see, you know, the firmness of it. Sorry about cutting across that middle. There we go. So there it is. That is our mashed potato bread in the Pullman loaf pan.